Let's face it, get in the hunting season. If you're like me, you hunt cold fronts all season long, or you try to slant your best hunting days to cold fronts, and then it happens. You get a bunch of hot weather and you want to still get out in the woods. There's still opportunity to that during hot weather. You're gonna find there's not a lot of opportunity. You're gonna find there's not a lot of bucks moving, but sometimes that's just the hand we're dealt with. We have to hunt because that's the time we have off. That's the time we're given at work. We have low seniority, whatever it might be. So there's still opportunity that you can find during hot weather, and you need to focus on those opportunities. And I would start off with right here, water on the way to food. Lots of people say, well, I have water on my property, why do I need to put in a water hole? Because deer aren't going to, in our case, they go 300 feet in elevation down and 700 yards to a creek and then back up again towards food. It's just not going to happen. They're bedding up high. They're hitting water on the way to their afternoon food source. So they want to hit that water, continue. Imagine they've been sitting hot and thirsty all day. First thing they want to do is hit that water on the way to afternoon food. So always think about if it's appropriate for water, whether you're looking for it on public land or you're building it on private. Are the deer hunting or sitting dry? Do they have no water in their bedding areas? Is that water source on the way to an afternoon food source? And if it is, it doesn't matter if it's hot weather or during the rut, or if that water is open in December, they're going to hit it, and they're going to hit it consistently. Those can be some of the best spots to hunt in hot water during hot weather is no exception. Number two, soft mass. Big difference in the amount of moisture in an apple, crab apple, a pear, a plum, whatever it might be, persimmon. Big difference in the moisture content of fruits compared to those acorns that are raining down in hot weather, dry weather. Deer love that moist, lush crop of soft mass. So looking for that crabapple tree, that apple tree on the way to an evening food source, just outside a bedding area where they might go to and visit during the day. Great opportunity to find a buck deer in hot weather that just needs to take a drink by what they're eating, and soft mass is right up there on the list. And number two, greens are. And that's why you see I have corn planted on my Minnesota property along with brassica crops, big brassica plantings, and then late planted beans, peas, light oats, top dressed with rye or wheat. So you see I use a lot of greens during that time of the year because it's the exact opposite of what they have in the woods and the habitat that they're bedding all day. So imagine they're craving moisture. They're sitting dry all day. Give them water holes, give them greens, give them fruit trees, which we already have in Minnesota. In Wisconsin, I can't plant corn. We don't have enough room. So the foundation of all food plots should be high quality greens. You're just matching the greens to your location, your habitat, the size of your plots, the size of the herd in your area, and make sure you hit those greens because it offers something that deer don't have where they bed. And you don't want them to have it. You don't want to have great clover fields and food plots back in their bedding areas and mixing that bedding, grasses, and food sources in one spot, because why do they need to move? Same with apple trees. Soft mass back in their bedding areas. Why do they need to move if they have it right in their beds where they're actually living all day? You want that separation of dry bedding area and moisture-laden crops or food sources on the way to their food source or at their food source. And that's why greens can be so critical, especially when it comes to food plots. Maybe finding a lush, moist swamp edge that has birdfoot trefoil on public land, some forbs and forages, clover areas where sunlight's hitting where it doesn't hit anywhere else on public land. Then you're going to find those moisture-laden green forages that you can actually feed deer. And don't think you can do this in most states, especially the north half of the country, with burnings in your woods and burnings projects that release a lot of green during the summer that's not there in the fall or winter. Again, it's dried out. You're focusing on greens that actually can be eaten in the fall, which is completely different with what they have all day long. And number four, if you're hunting those green food sources, if you're hunting an apple tree, go to those shaded food sources, those areas where deer can stay back in the dark. They don't have to expose themselves out in the sun and the heat once they get to that location, and they can actually dine in shaded temperatures without the sun beating down on them before they go out after dark. And that's why you might not be seeing them until dark out in those big open food sources, because they don't want to go stand out there in the open sun. So find that shaded water hole, apple tree, mock scrape, food source, small food plot on the way to a big food plot in the afternoon, and it'll be a great spot. Give you a great opportunity even during hot weather. And number five down here, really consider bucks are going to be moving a lot later in the day if it's hot. That's why I love hunting cool weather. Not only do they hunt or do they move earlier, they move more often throughout the entire day when the temperatures are cool, and especially when you get into the rut. If you have a hot day, they're not going to move no matter what the moon phase, no matter what anything tells you. If it's a bad weather day, they're not going to move. Most bad weather days are hot. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the prime rut, you can always shoot a buck. But if you have a better cool day right around the corner, make sure you go then. But when those bucks are potentially moving during daylight in hot weather, they're not leaving their bedding areas till the last second, and that brings up a bedding area, staging area. What I mean by that, that's that area where a buck exits its bedding area. There's a nice flat with a bunch of rubs and scrapes, and then he's heading to a food source 300-400 yards away. You're getting them where you're not in your bedding area in the afternoon because you're going to spook them when you get in there, but you're 100 yards away. You're 50 yards away up and over a ridge or around a thick corner where you can sneak into a stand location. You expect them to hit that area, lay down some rub and scrapes, and then head to a distant food source. That's a bedding area, staging area. And then he's staging up next to that food source down below. That's that last location of effective cover. So you're looking at bedding area, staging area, bedding area, solid cover all the way to the food source. And that's actually that food source staging area where it's almost impossible to hunt because there's usually does and fawns right there, but you can slip in behind the does and fawns around them, getting to that buck bedding staging area. It's a very effective spot to hunt during hot weather because you're hunting a buck as he first emerges from his bedding area. Different than hunting the funnel of deer movement that collects bedding area bucks from all locations down to one spot before they go into a food source. It gives you multiple bedding areas to hunt, and if you're preserving your food sources, you're not spooking out those movements to go to the food sources. You're allowing those to continue. And you go up and you hunt a hot weather bedding staging area and you happen to spook a buck. As long as your food source is secure, the movement on the way to the food source, a lot of times you just find that buck shifts over because he wants to continue hitting that afternoon food source every single day, right around dark. And that's why you need to have quality food plots if you have a private land. You need to find quality food sources on public land. It all relates back to food for their daily movements. And these are 5 ways that you can hunt. And I'm gonna forget, I wrote it off to the side, but holes in the rain. So during warm weather, you're getting thunderstorms, rain showers. We're going out tonight in Kentucky. It's pretty hot today. And what we're doing is hunting, hopefully, a dry period in the day where we have no rain. It's rained all day, all last night. Rain when we were on the stand yesterday. We had rain showers coming through, some black clouds. So I'm hoping tonight it's dry for the rest of the night. And if it is, and those drops are not in the woods making a bunch of noise and stressing out the deer, then there's a good chance those deer will be on the move, even though it's still warm, even though it's still muggy, just because they've been pressed down with rain. Their sense of sound, anytime their senses are taken away, it doesn't matter if it's smell, sight, sound, if one of those senses is taken away, they're not going to move as much. That's why I like wind, a little bit of wind, because if there's no wind, they can't use the wind to their advantage then, let alone if it's loud, drops are coming down and they can't hear. So we're hoping for that perfect combination tonight where we get some dry weather, decent winds. We're hunting those holes in the rain during moderately hot weather. And if you use these 6 tips, you're going to be well on your way to conquering hot weather this deer season, all deer season. Doesn't matter if it's a rut, late season, early season, and beyond. Folks, I want to make sure you check out my web class video series, whether it's how to design your food plot program or how to design your property in general. And we have a new one coming out that'll be how to hunt the rut. But these bucks back here are a testament. Some of these bucks go back to 93. They're even in different states. I urge you to check out those web classes so that you can help yourself, help your land, help your hunt. The link is in the description. And also for those that have tried them out, I encourage you to offer some feedback in the comments below. Thank you.